Hi everyone. So this is just me giving a quick tutorial. I say quick, but it won't be quick. Of the game, and I'm gonna start with the most basic things and work myself towards the more advanced things. Um, and yeah. So just to start us off, the first thing you want to pay attention to is your lineup. In regards to lineup, you want to make sure that you have your two tanks in the very front position. So you want to make sure where my Enrique and my Baron are. Those are the two tank spots. In some situations, you can use a commando instead of a tank in the secondary slot where my Baron is. Only because Baron has a skill that gives him an innate amount of damage reduction. So I believe it is boxing. So this skill gives him 3.5% mitigation for all damage. So that makes him semi-effective, but if you look, he still has less agility and less vitality compared to where is my Enrique? Compared to Enrique, who has 800 agility and 416 vitality. I keep my tanks relatively lower health, just so I have more damage for my backline. My Enrique typically, if I'm not doing well, he'll still survive to the very end before anything really happens with my whole team. My whole team's dead, and Enrique can still be alive at level 75. But so that's the main premise so far with the lineup, is you want to make sure you have those two things. Another thing is, so making sure you have your backline set up. I use only commandos for this lineup, but you almost never want to have Kelly in the bottom slot. I know a lot of people use Kelly, so I'm going to talk about Kelly specifically right now, but you never want Kelly to be where Blanche is, because Kelly naturally targets the person with the lowest agility on the other team, which I'll get to in a second. But you want to make sure that you have a strong damage dealer in the bottom slot so that they're hitting the secondary tank. The faster you can kill the secondary tank, so like my Baron, for example, the faster you can focus on the primary tank with 3 damage dealers instead of 2. So since Kelly isn't going to target a tank naturally, you want to make sure that you have a strong damage dealer in the bottom. Galan naturally targets the lowest health person, so he targets whoever Kelly's normally hitting. So that's why I have my Blanche in the very bottom. So when you look at the ability I mentioned about Kelly, so I believe it is hunting.
The hunting game begins.
So Kelly naturally will attack the enemy that has the lowest agility, and it increases the damage that person takes by 16%. So she naturally will go after a damage dealer typically, because damage dealers have less agility than tanks. So what I always recommend is when you build for damage, I don't know if I have it set up on my Blanche. You want to make sure that you have agility secondaries on all of your damage dealers in terms of your tank gear. So I believe my Galand is a good example if I remember. So right here, so his helmet, you have that agility as a secondary, the yellow stat, and that gives him bonus agility, which means that Kelly will naturally not target him. So what I've done is on my team, it's my Galan, for example, is at 655 agility. My Kelly's 663. My Blanche is 686. But what I've done is make it so, ignore my Roger, is that, oh yeah, the Queen Pass. I've made it so that my agility on my Baron is lowest, which means that naturally Kelly will attack him instead of one of my damage dealers in the back. There's certain champions that have that type of ability. So for example, if you look at Rebecca, her snipe naturally targets the enemy with the lowest agility. So that's why Kelly and Rebecca work well together against certain teams. But if some people, like the current meta, are using what we call fake tanks, that are tank characters that have low agility on purpose, people like Kelly and Rebecca will naturally target them and not attack the damage dealers in the back. So you need to pay close attention to that if you're ever scouting someone or in champ duel or something like that. You want to make sure that you're targeting people with low agility. Okay, so the next big thing is understanding stats. So my Blanche, for example, uses weapon damage. So people that use weapon damage require gear that gives them strength. So for example, her main hand or her sword gives her strength, and so does her offhand, where they both have strength. That's if you have weapon damage. If you attack damage, Rebecca. So she uses attack damage, which means that you want gear that has to do with intellect. Intellect increases attack damage, and then strength increases weapon damage. So, and this next part is going to be a little confusing, but it matters in terms of gear. But a character like, let's say, Kelly or Galand, since they're single target damage dealers, what you want them to have is a set of death gear. So the single target damage dealers need death gear because they're most likely one job is just to burst someone. After their first special, they should have this death 4-piece that says deal 20% damage after defeating the target enemy. So basically, after his first special, if he's not killing the person, he's not getting the full bonus of this. So you want to make sure that if you put a death set on someone, that they're a strong character. Otherwise, it won't work very well. Another example of a set is, so let's look at my Laurel. Oh, not on my Laurel. I have that on. Give me 1 second while I find my podcast. So on my Quinn, I have a set of Apocalypse gear on Quinn. So I put Apocalypse gear on characters that are big AoE damage dealers. So area of effect damage. Since if they crit, that means they're more likely to do a ton of damage to everyone. So I prefer that chance, which is why I'll put it on my Quinn to get that bonus crit rate. I prefer crit rate secondaries instead of just like a flat strength. That's just my... I like that gamble. Side note, luck is directly tied to how fast your character moves. The higher their luck is, the faster that they attack and make moves. Think of luck as like a character's speed. So luck and then initiative. So if you look at Kelly, for example, her, I believe, elegant, gives her character a bonus 5% initiative. That means that her initiative is kind of like turn meter, is how I like to think of that. So that means that she naturally will go faster than other people, especially if she has like a luck bonus. So as I mentioned previously, I have my Blanche sitting in the bottom row, which means that she's naturally going to first start attacking tanks. So what I like to have on that character that's on like the bottom row is I put a Reaper set on them, because they ignore 35% of the target's defense in front of them that they're like hitting, whoever they're hitting. So she's naturally hitting through tank defenses. So that's why I like a Reaper set on her in particular. As a quick rundown, just like go back, if you don't have all this gear, that's totally fine. You want to make sure though that you're using Reaper sets on people that are attacking tanks, so like Blanche, Roger, Baron, those people that are going to be attacking tanks, especially like Roger and Baron, since they're going to be like hitting only tanks or people in front of them, you want to make sure that they have a Reaper set, because that means they deal more damage through tank defenses. In terms of Hurricane, you can alternate between Hurricane and... You can alternate between Hurricane and Death on single target attack damage dealers, so like Rebecca or Kaya, to where, since they're only dealing single target damage, that's where the focus damage comes in. So those, either the Hurricane or the Death set will be best for them. Now looking at tanks, and this is something I've noticed a lot of people don't have proper.
Who was picking up a fine?
So like for Enrique, he's a weapon damage dealer, so you want to make sure that he gets strength. Because those are all the shield. Yeah, so right here. So gains a shield of 56% weapon attack when casting Metalhead. So whenever he casts his shield, it's dependent on his strength and weapon damage, since those two go hand in hand. In terms of what I mentioned previously about tanks and having a fake tank in the front to take damage away from people, so if I look at my Baron really quick, all of his secondary stats, so the blue stats you can't change, those stats are always going to be there. The gold stat is a stat that always changes. So I put extra vitality on him to give him more health, but you can put anything there as long as it's not agility. If you put agility there, that makes him quote-unquote faster. Agility doesn't affect speed, but it changes the way certain characters target people. So if you put agility in any of your fake tank stats, then he's going to be not prioritized. God, I need water. This video is going really long. That's just kind of the quick rundown on this in terms of lineups. I think I just attacked Queen in her little fortress on the bottom, and she has a lot of resources. Okay. So really quick, I'm just going to, just so I can bring this back and show everyone. Okay, so as I mentioned, you want to make sure you have your 2 damage dealers in the front. So what's going to happen is your tanks need to be in positions 1 and 2. So you're going to have to put Enrique there. I don't recommend autofill, because if I just do that, do you see how it puts Kelly in the front? And I don't want Kelly in the front. So I don't ever recommend doing refill. What you want to do is you can put your characters down. So we'll do this, this. You put your characters down and then you hit refill, and that'll put all the soldiers in there for you. That's just kind of my approach to it. Certain lineups use certain things. So right here, if you look, I have my Roger in the bottom, because Rogers naturally attacks whoever's in front of him with his special. So based off whoever he's attacking, do I have any combats with Roger? So Roger naturally attacks whoever's in front of him. And typically you'll want a Reaper set. I have to put a death set on him right now just because I don't have an extra Reaper set for him. And I was trying to get his agility up high enough to where he wasn't getting targeted. Because right now he has low agility at 524. He's the lowest agility on my second team, which means he gets targeted by people. Oh, I need a champion. So let's see. If I go to record. If we just watch this, so if you watch, you'll see that my Roger is going to attack the Baron if the Baron doesn't die. So the Roger will use a spec on Baron. Kelly can't tell him. But Roger used a spec on, now he'll use it on Enrique, because Enrique is the front line. He attacks whoever's in the closest row. So that's why you want to make sure that Roger is in a Reaper set. I have him in Death set just because I don't have the full gear, but you want to make sure he's in a Reaper set. But as you saw, and thank you, Sophie, for doing the test on me. But if you look, my Kelly is attacking his Baron because his Baron has the least amount of stats. So if I go to attributes, and then I go to, if I look, so like, for example, his Enrique has 603 ability. His Baron only has 405, followed by his Blanche, that's 413, which means that Kelly is going to target Baron before she targets Blanche. Give me 1 second. I'm dying and I need water. I'm gonna pause it. Okay, sorry. So, that was just one example. Let me see if there's another one. So let's see. So this battle, this Kelly is most likely going to target my Baron. Let's see if they get a turn. Oh, I apologize. So my Quinn right now has less agility than my Baron because she's not normally on my main team. I just split her up to just to mix up the lineup better for Champ Duel. But normally Kelly would attack my Baron. So in Champ Duel, if I wanted to be really effective, what I need to do is I need to go check on my Quinn, check her agility. So my Quinn's agility is 577. And my Baron's agility is 588. So in the future, what I should do is make sure that...
Don't you find it plastic? Quiet to romantic?
So since I have the max amount of agility I can put on her, essentially, I'm going to want to make sure that she's a higher level, because you get more stats per level. Is the biggest thing. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I know it was very jumbled and everywhere. But this is really